So, Erica, what was your very first date like?
Well, I actually waited a long time to date. Everyone seemed to be pregnant. And so in my mind, dating led to pregnancy and, I didn't want to be pregnant. I was terrified of that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I remember that. I get it.
But my first date was with a dude named Richard Lyons.
It's Richard. He was on the show. He played your boyfriend.
He did. He played my boyfriend. He's an actor from Philly.
Yeah, I love Richard.
Cool guy, yeah.
I love Richard to this day. And, he's a well sought after acting coach and director. He works with Queen Latifah all the time.
Yes.
And just as an inside, you all can hear Richard every week on Living Single because he had this distinctive laugh. And to this day, if you listen to the show, you can hear his laugh. You want to do his laugh together?
Yeah.
Here we go. You were immortalized, Richard. We love you.
We actually met in Philadelphia at Freedom Theater in a play called Under Pressure. And he took me to eat. And, I was very shy. I was a virgin, I promise. Anyway, we dated and stayed together for 8 years.
Yeah.
And he came to LA and got on the show. He's a good dude. Honest. He protected me. We're still friends. Yes. Why do you ask? What do you want to do?
Well, I ask because I have a very different experience because I'm a terrible first dater because I date and then I make them my boyfriend right away.
Wow.
I mean, that's kind of what happened to you, but like
no,
you
that happened to me now. That's encouraging to somebody. Well, you know what?
But
dating's tough.
I know that dating is tough. And I know that Sinclair had it rough because she was very sheltered and, from Minnesota. And
Minnesota. Wow, I hear that's a trash dating pool.
Erica, don't say that.
No, I mean, I allegedly. I mean, have you seen the last season of Love is Blind?
I don't even know. Do you know what that is?
No, I haven't seen it. But, I can imagine.
Okay.
We had better options in Brooklyn.
Thank
At least
goodness,
they cast better people for us to date.
Thank you, Yvette. We had some good ones, didn't we?
Sure enough.
Welcome back to Reliving Single, the official, unofficial Living Single
Rewatch podcast. Yeah.
Yes.
So, okay, Kim, how are you?
I am excellent. I'm enjoying this with you.
Nice.
This is fun.
Oh, good,
how about you?
Good. I'm good. I have having some existential thoughts, sort of questioning my choices lately and really worried about garbage in the environment. But other than that, and world peace too, but
and women's rights.
Women's rights and all that. But other than that,
trade wars.
Yes, and my bunion hurts. But other than
tariffs,
that,
come on. Other than that,
we're
all is well.
Totally good.
Yeah. Let's talk about this episode. Sinclair went on a date.
Yes.
And you all helped me get ready for the date. I believe it's called Whose Date Is It? Anyway. Whose Date Is It Anyway?
Whose Date Is It Anyway?
Right. So the girls set me up on a date and you all show up to spy on me to make sure that it goes well and make sure that I take your dating advice.
Yeah, because it's the third episode in now, the first season. And Sinclair and Khadijah have obviously been introduced as characters and family and those types of things. We know that she's a very innocent and beautiful spirit from Minnesota and all of that. But she's also a man magnet for Overton.
Yeah, Overton already has the eyes for her, and I don't think she got it yet. Again, because she's sort of naive and been sheltered, so she's
totally missing
she likes him and enjoys him, but she doesn't get that this could be like a thing.
Yeah,
and we know that this is the beginning of a thing. You all set me up on a date.
Yeah. We set you up on a date with somebody else because we don't know. Right. That's necessarily happening, and you have complained that you want to go on a date. I mean, you're sort of saying, I want to be out there.
I'm in the big city now.
So you got your sisters in place, and we're going to hook you up.
And because Overton hasn't made his move, and he's not listening to Kyle to make his move, y'all swoop somebody else up in there. And I would like to thank you. I'd like to thank the producers. I'd like to thank the universe.
Let's watch.
It's time for the rewind, where we watch and relive Living Single with you.
I just want someone who's kind and gentle and sensitive and loves all plants and animals. So you're saying there's nobody out there like that?
Yes, a shepherd.
Now, come on, y'all. There's got to be somebody.
Hello. Hi.
Hey, once again, I'm victorious in the battle of man versus machine. So, what you up to?
Ooh, they're setting me up on a date.
A date? With a dude?
Maybe even a shepherd.
I used to be a shepherd.
Really?
So this is my first A story,
A story,
Sinclair's
that's
first
right.
A story, and you all are
Yes.
seeing this pattern of A stories and B stories, but they all blend beautifully together. And the writers are showing Sinclair's approach to what it would be like.
Yeah.
And so she's been asked out on a date already by this doctor.
Yeah, so she didn't even need a setup.
She didn't need a
She was
setup
holding
at
that in
all.
her back pocket the whole time.
I didn't. I
Which is
wasn't
nuts.
thinking, but I was listening to the advice, and I need somebody who's got this and has to have a butt and has to, or no butt, no date. What great.
Right.
great
Meanwhile,
advice.
Overton comes down and hands you something, finding any excuse, obviously, to come in
Yeah.
and do anything for you. And then you lay that on him that you're looking for a date. And he actually can't imagine that.
Right. I love that line. Setting up on a date with a dude.
Yeah, with a dude.
Because, he's like, this is my girl. You're my girl.
And we're also starting to see the greatness and the wonderfulness of Kim Coles. Hello, that's one of your moves. Do
Yeah.
it. Can you know what I'm talking about?
Hello.
Hello.
Well, from watching all the great comedy on TV growing up, in the late 60s and the 70s. And so I'm really just pulling from all of my favorites. And so, that little, because who does that in real life? But, Sinclair, I got an idea. And so getting a chance to play, because I don't even know what the line said. It was like, hello. I was like, hello.
But that's an improv. That's
yeah.
we're improving inside of it. And it's a beautiful
And
thing.
finding another element, another something.
And
there.
and now, of course, deepening the relationships between the characters.
Right.
So
And I also love that Regine kind of throws it away. Like, a man has walked into the room, a perfectly, nice looking, viable guy. And now that we're done with that, now let's get back to you, and finding. So it's like there was somebody in the house and it was Overton, but y'all didn't see him that way.
no, we don't see him at all.
No. And I don't see him yet.
Girl, you don't see nothing.
Not yet.
Dude's all over. You might as well pee on your leg. That's how much he's, digging on you.
Yeah.
He wants to, claim you.
Sometimes, but isn't that in life?
I guess so.
They
Sometimes
have
we're intimidated by
experience?
what we want, and we
Right.
sort of, smell it and sniff it too long, and then
Yeah.
somebody else comes and grabs it up and takes it home like a bone.
So here's what's great. You can tell by the audience's reaction that they had already bought into something that they felt was beginning to happen. This is just episode 3. We've had little hints of Overton loving on Sinclair or being interested or being in, something. Something was intriguing about who wouldn't be intrigued by Sinclair. But the audience felt his disappointment, and I feel that they knew. Of course, Sinclair didn't know, but the audience already knew. Like, oh, they knew that it could be something good there. Like, come on, girl, it's right in front of your face.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and they already seeing that he missed the boat.
Yeah, but once y'all got me onto the fact that I might meet a shepherd, I was like, well, that's really interesting.
That's
different.
hilarious.
It's hilarious.
Yo, Overton, man, I just made fun of your hammer. What's up?
Man, they setting Sinclair up on a date.
With a dude? Oh, that's deep, man.
Who you telling, man? I done spent much trying to get with that girl. Fixing her radiator, fixing her coffee maker, refrigerator. Man, I was fixing stuff that wasn't even broke.
But you never asked her out, man.
I've been building up to it. It was part of my big 3-point plan. See, year 1,
Ho. Man, plan like that, year 2, you and that hammer gonna be catching a bouquet at Sinclair's wedding.
I love now that you're getting a deeper, richer look into the relationship between Kyle and Overton, that he can come in and tease him about his, his hammer, and he sees that his buddy is down and like, why aren't you laughing, man? And what's going on? And we're now getting more about Kyle, that he's a ladies' man. We can tell, but now we know. And I love that, the thing about Sinclair and Overton is that, people sometimes say, well, y'all are dumb. It's like, Overton is not dumb. He gets this advice like, oh, so you're telling me all this, and you're the master, huh? Yeah, okay.
Well, in that clip, you're showing that Overton is telling Kyle that he likes Sinclair. He's heartbroken to learn she has a date. Kyle then is coaching him, and now we're seeing the differences between Kyle and Overton and their approach.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, one is much more, I don't know, what is Kyle? Would you say
more direct,
tiger,
more more proprietary or something,
a little bit more stereotypical,
right. and territorial or something,
like
masculine,
like go for it, aggressive. And Overton is like, I don't get it, that doesn't appeal to him.
He's got a 4-year plan to get.
That's nuts. Did he say 4 or 3 years?
He said, I think it was a multi-year plan.
Lord
Year
have mercy.
1. So here's what's great about the writing there is that we don't even know how many years he's going to plan this, but we know that year 1, this is what the plan is. Like, no, let's stop that right now.
Yeah, no, that's too
never going to
much.
happen.
Yeah.
The other thing that they did so masterfully in the writing of this episode is something called the callback. So we see in the apartment, Overton says, they're setting you up, what, with a dude?
Yeah.
And in the hallway, Kyle repeats the line, what, with a dude?
Yeah.
And so that's just sitcom heaven.
Yeah.
And comedy heaven, I think.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we're looking at 2 black men,
Mhm.
dating styles in Brooklyn,
Yeah.
totally different,
Mhm.
trying to get the girl. There's got to be disaster in front of them. That's all there's to it.
The disaster ensues
Yeah.
because I think you all get me ready for this date because I've already been asked out on the date. It ain't going to be a shepherd.
Yeah.
It's a
Ain't
doctor.
gonna be no shepherd.
Ooh, look at you. Which one of these 2 blind ladies did your makeup?
Anyway, Sinclair, just be sure to be a good listener. And if Michael says anything even remotely humorous, be sure and use the date laugh.
Date laugh.
Mm-hmm. You put one hand on your date, one hand on your chest. See, it's the kind of laugh that says, I'm amused and I have these.
So look at this sisterhood.
Looney bin.
Right.
Looney bin of advice.
All caring enough to get me ready for this date because this is a good catch. He's a doctor.
Yeah, that's true.
We're
But you know,
about-
it's funny. They're putting you in makeup, and I know the Khadijah character, Dana doesn't like it, but I never really realized right until now that she takes a napkin
And wipes,
it down
because
out.
it's too much. Because y'all are making me look like a harlot. Well, Regine is making me look like a harlot.
That's
it's just
true.
too much, and it's not me. And I guess as my older cousin, she's like, "That's too much." You know, like your mom didn't send you here to live with me for you to go out like that.
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
that's a beautiful little touch. There's no line there other than her taking it
She's
down.
also protecting that innocent, old-fashioned
Yeah.
Sinclair that she knows, you know, it will go along with things.
Right.
People pleaser.
Very much.
Actually, Sinclair is a huge people pleaser.
Huge.
Yeah.
I'm falling over my words because that's something that we have in common. I will admit. Yeah. Absolutely.
For sure.
Oh, peacemaker, pleaser, wants everybody
That's
to get
true.
along. Yeah.
That's true.
You know, she's
You're
listening.
chaotic and your stability all in one.
I like that. Chaotic and stability all in one.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, that's a people please.
Yeah.
I insulted you
Are you so?
and softened it.
Yeah, but
and
see,
you said you like it.
I do like it because I know that in chaos can often be. I know that creativity can be chaotic.
Look at you trying to really
It's
work it.
true, but
It's all
I
good, girl.
receive it. I receive it.
Oh,
I
thank
receive
you.
it. I'm assuming that you met that with light and love.
I did.
Yeah,
I was trying to, but anyway,
Okay. You are all getting me ready for this date
Yep.
in your way, teaching me what I need to know from your perspective. This one is telling me to show my cleavage. This one's doing my makeup. You're showing me how to walk. And, when I walked, my butt I was trying to get that swing. And
you got a booty and it's high.
I got a high booty. And so and then
the
that
pop is-
skirt, was helping me out to make that swing look even better.
You look
So
like a cartoon mule.
Thank
Is
you.
that sexy?
It's funny, and that's what really matters.
Yeah.
So now Michael's at the door. I love that Regine is going to go get him for me so I can make an entrance.
Exactly.
And
Show off the goods.
Show off the
It's
goods.
very Pride and Prejudice.
Evening. Oh, Michael.
Sinclair, you look incredible.
Thank you.
So, Michael, where will you be dining with our Sinclair this evening?
Well, if it's all right for Sinclair, I thought we'd try the Rive Gauche. I love French food.
Well, that sounds wonderful. Let's escargot. So, what made you want to become a veterinarian?
Well, I've always loved animals. I was always good in science in school, and after I saw Dr. Doolittle, I was hooked.
Here you are, mesdames. Would anybody care for something to drink?
Water, please, 3.
Hors d'oeuvres?
No, thank you. We'll just nibble on these biscuits here.
Well, bon appetit then.
Okay, so let's talk about my date. My date is the one and only beloved Tommy Michael Ford.
Yeah, just chocolatey delicious.
Chocolatey,
tall,
delicious,
and
handsome. And
lovely
he was so, he's no longer with us on this plane, but so sweet, so kind, just easy to be around.
Yeah,
and a lovely
he was
man.
on Martin, which was our lead-in. So it just really makes sense for him to be on Living Single, you know, and
Wonderful.
just shows the camaraderie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And the
come help-
cross-pollinization that we did.
Yeah.
And
what was
just-
it like working with
Oh,
him?
lovely, because he's easy to work with. And I had done, I think I had already done an episode of Martin or something. I'd been around him
You
before.
did an
I did an
episode of
episode I was Bonquisha, me and Yo-Yo and Shanae. Yes.
Lord have mercy.
And Tommy, of course. Kind, sweet, funny, just like you see him, lovely.
Yeah, he was
and,
wonderful.
And unaware of how, there's guys who, like, obviously Dr. Edwards is, being charming and handsome, but Tommy was unaware of how handsome and charming he was.
Yeah,
You know
no
what I mean? He wasn't
pretense.
trying, no pretense at all.
Yeah.
Just lovely.
Lovely.
And easy on the eyes and sweet.
Ooh,
Real sweet. Yeah.
Lord.
Yeah.
And I just also love how he kind of matched Sinclair's innocence in his own masculine way.
Right. And she wanted a man who loved animals. He was a veterinarian, for heaven's sake, and he had his little corny jokes. And so it was like kind of perfect, right? In that way. And he's a doctor and all of these little corny ways of being, which was
Yeah.
very sweet. I'll tell you something else too. There's a little quick shout out to you. We're in a beautiful French restaurant, a high-class French restaurant. And he said, do you want to order something? Nothing, we'll just eat these biscuits here. It's not a biscuit. It's like a, beautiful French roll or something. You're like, we'll just eat these biscuits. I don't know if that was in the script. I don't know if that was your improv.
I don't think it's in the script.
Yeah.
But the sort of aggressive nature of her.
Right,
She's
right.
very dismissive.
Yeah, like, I'm just going to eat this
Yeah, I'm
biscuit.
just gonna eat
Get
these
out of
biscuits,
here.
like beat
Right,
it,
right.
and
I get the note.
unapologetic.
Yeah.
We're just gonna eat these biscuits. No,
No, like, we'll just eat these
no,
biscuits.
eat these
Go ahead.
biscuits.
And some
no,
water,
get out my
please.
face. Yeah, some water. Come on. And meantime, so the friends have come
Yeah.
and they want to spy. Now, there's Latifah Khadijah with them. She said she didn't want that, but she comes to keep an eye on us.
Right.
Keeping an eye on you, and then
Right.
sits in the chair that can see you. And so they
Right.
have to see what's going on through her eyes,
Right.
which is not working.
No.
So they ask the waiter, who is not going to get paid because we're not ordering anything, to send a note.
Right.
So she orders something and sends the note.
Just for that.
And
Just-
it kind of blows the cover.
Right.
And that's when you do your great laugh.
And the penguin says, I'll have a martini. Could you have a beer to the guy I'm sitting on? Is there a problem, baby?
Oh, no, just letting you know that I'm amused and I have these.
I mean,
Hey,
it's
well,
awful
I gotta
laugh.
follow. I get the note, and I gotta. See, and she's so naive. He said, "Are you all right, baby?" Which I love.
Yeah.
Because I just reminding you that I'm amused and I have these. She doesn't know how to pretend to be anything other than what she really is.
What
And
I love is that you can still do that high-pitched laugh.
I'm amused. And I have these. The other thing that's important to note is that we're in our world, and so far we've seen Flavor Magazine, we've seen The Living Room, we're meeting the
Kitchen,
characters,
all the basic-
kitchen, all
yeah.
the basic sets, and we're now in a high-class French restaurant. And so the audience is now getting a sense of us, our lives, really. Like, now that it sort of feels more 3D.
Yeah, well,
right?
the world is expanding.
Yeah,
Yvette very, I think, smartly is saying that they're living single, and living single doesn't mean tied to an apartment. They've
Right.
got to get out. And so
Or tied to work. They're
tied to
get-
work. That we're going to have adventures outside of the
Yeah.
thing. And that's cool.
And I like that we go to a high class place. This is not a chicken,
Yeah, we
chicken
ain't in
chicken
no
wing
dive.
joint. No, this is beautiful.
It's
And
once
this-
again speaking to their aspirations,
Yeah.
but also he's a doctor. Where
Right.
would he take him?
Of course, a fancy French restaurant.
Yeah.
Yes, I love
Overton
that.
might take you to a
Right.
joint.
Right. How did you feel whenever we would have a set that was not our own set? Did it take you a while to get used to it, or to get comfortable in it, or to make it your own in some kind of way?
I felt that way about Flavor Magazine. I didn't necessarily like going in there.
Okay.
It wasn't a place that Max visited that much.
Yeah,
And I didn't
yeah.
really know what to do.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
any place else outside of that, I felt free.
Uh-huh.
Because
okay.
remember, I'm always visiting other people's sets.
Right, right,
That living room set is a place I'm coming into,
Mhm.
but actually Max is always entering somewhere new.
Mhm.
Wow, she's multidimensional.
She is multidimensional.
Wow, that's
she
string
becomes
theory.
herself wherever
That's
she is.
string theory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Should I go that far?
Yeah, you could take it as far as you want to go.
No doubt.
Now, a phone call, and another interruption comes and Sinclair's, no, sir, there will be no more interruptions. And we find out it's a call for Dr. Edwards.
Right.
Which is actually kind of sexy if you think about it.
Well, it's hot.
It's hot.
Of course, he's a doctor.
Right.
But what's the importance of you being yourself on a date, Kim? Do you feel like it's important?
Absolutely.
Because we do have masks, let's be honest.
We do have masks, but I think I learned early on, like, what you see is what you get. So there's like, the fresh-faced version of you. And I've never been a faker. Like, what you see is what you get. I'm going to pass gas. Enjoy. You may pass gas too. Enjoy. I want you to
lying straight up.
Dude, let me say this.
Here talking
in
about,
a relationship,
I've watched you with guys go, really, and just become very soft and subtle and don't. Come
that's
on,
not
30 years of knowing you.
That's not inauthentic.
So it's authentic for you to be.
My version.
This is nuts.
No, I have dialed up my femininity.
That part. Yup.
You've teased me about that now that I think about it.
I'm just trying to get the truth to the people. Because you trying to act like I'm always authentically myself.
I am.
But of course, every guy I ever meet, I date, is automatically my boyfriend. How do you think they get to be that way? If you were really authentically yourself, they probably would run screaming from the room.
How could you say this about me? What are you talking
Because we're all doing masks.
No, listen, I've had guys say to me, it's refreshing that you are authentic.
Okay.
I don't put on airs. Listen, I don't put on airs for long. I can't hold it that long. That's the
Just
thing.
long enough.
Long enough to trap them.
Well, there you go. So
I've
anyway,
had two
let's
husbands.
keep going with this date.
Why is this turning terribly wrong?
Not at all.
All right, so Dr. Edwards takes his call.
I'm really sorry. That was my service. Someone called in a panic about a dog.
Oh, no.
Please forgive me. I have to go. Can I drop you off on the way?
Oh, don't you worry about me. There's a puppy out there with a warm, dry nose who needs your help. Now go.
Thanks for the phone, man.
Overton, what are you doing here?
Oh, I always come here for the French fries. Mind if I sit down?
Oh, please.
I'd really be honored to have dinner with you tonight.
Oh, well, so would I.
Hey, how I'm doing?
I love that. So now we have a repeat of what is happening with the girls, and Overton has found his way, and he's got a little. Now, do you think Kyle put him up to that?
Of course he did. But I also think that that's more Overton style.
Yeah.
That had nothing to do with maybe his approach, but he needed to disrupt that because, by the way, that was a great date. You weren't having a bad date.
Oh, I was having a great
Yeah,
date.
Yvette rightly. So it's actually a choice between competing goods, which is harder. If it was flopping, then you'd see why Overton worked. But actually, even when he leaves, he says, okay. There's something soft and beautiful about his voice and very caring and comforting. He played that.
He did.
Perfect.
He kissed me on the cheek. The audience is now disappointed. Like, wow, this is a really good date for her.
Yeah.
Okay, this would be a good catch. And I'm understanding as I would be, and hopefully go help that puppy's nose or whatever it was. And
speaking at the very top of your
what is that voice
your
I was
larynx?
doing? It's
know.
femininity. Just turn on the but my way. That was my version of right.
That was your
that
way.
Wasn't the regime way. What I also love about the richness of this episode is we have a callback in the first scene of a dude, and now we have another, you call it a twin narrative.
Yeah.
Where we see the women there checking in on Sinclair
They're coaching her and they want to see how she's doing.
And trying to fix the date to be the way they need it to be. And we find out that Kyle is doing the same thing.
Yes, yeah.
And it's revealed beautifully. How am I doing? And he's like, go, keep going. And so it's just,
because you almost forget about it.
Yeah.
So and it makes sense that the doctor gets a call and leaves, but we don't think that this is a setup to get him out of the way so that Overton can have a chance to come and mac you.
And mac me, he does, and that now Kyle gets to be the puppeteer. You all were the puppeteers for the first scene, and now Kyle gets.
And
to be
now
the puppeteer.
coming back to that is something that's straight out of Shakespeare.
Oh, sure.
Because that's
like
Cyrano de Bergerac,
or like a comedy of errors.
Cyrano de Bergerac gets coaching of the guy who cannot speak to the girl, and he's whispering in her ear. That's exact setup of Shakespeare.
I love it. Cyrano dead on, and a comedy of errors of like, how am I doing it? What all the things, and that's just great writing.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for such a wonderful evening. I never knew you were such a good bowler.
Oh, girl, I'm a man of many hidden talents.
Really? Like what else?
I don't know. They all hidden.
Thanks again. Good night.
Good night.
Well, I guess I don't have to ask how the evening went, seeing as how you're standing on this side of the door.
Buddy boy. Check it out.
Lipstick. And just inches away from your lips. For you, I guess that's pretty good for year one, huh?
Are you kidding? Hell, I'm 6 months ahead of schedule. Watch dog.
Bow wow.
Stepping lightly like a woodpecker with a headache, Jack.
That's improv.
That's improv. I love this moment of coming in, and we know that he took her bowling, so that's more Overton's speed.
That's right.
He took her to a world where he felt comfortable and where he could show off because he's a good bowler.
Right.
You know?
And he's not over-promising something he can't deliver, which a lot of people do nowadays.
Oh, yeah,
they take you something expensive, and it is nice. But the truth, it's not a correct sort of estimation of what you're going to get in the future.
Right.
And so people get disappointed when they can't keep it up. But bowling is right.
You can absolutely keep that up.
What
We're going
he
to
can
have
do.
fun all the time.
Yeah.
I love this. I love this sweet moment of this was good. Do we kiss? Do we not kiss? And you know, he
Leans
offers himself, and she kisses him on the cheek, which is perfect. She gets to have, you know, he asks her for permission in that way.
Very important.
And she chooses to give him a kiss on the cheek, which is just enough. Just right.
Yeah, unlike you.
I would have
who
tongued
would've
him down.
Taken him in.
Oh, I would have tongued him down.
Well,
on the first date, then, you know, second date, we'll talk. So it was perfect. And he was thrilled. He was over the moon with that. You know, Kyle sees that as like, oh, you got a kiss on the cheek and inches away from your lips. And
he's thrilled.
Thrilled. My plan
Yes.
has moved up now.
Yeah.
It's not a year plan. It's 6 months now. All right now. Perfect.
And he said, this is a John line where he says, stepping lightly like a woodpecker
woodpecker
with a headache. That is improv.
That's his
thing.
A John
That's
line.
John
Yeah.
Hinton. Yeah.
There's also something else that happens there too. This watchdog bow wow. I think I remember in the pilot, they played a game of some kind, and John and TC ad-libbed this watchdog bow wow, this thing, and that remained throughout the show. Like that was something they would always do when they pounded each other. So that's like a personal thing that they made a thing for the show.
Yeah. And they were always trying to do that, trying to separate their relationship from the four women and build it out. And that was important to them. So they didn't become just the joke.
We had conversations about making sure they didn't turn into Lenny and Squiggy.
Yeah.
So Lenny and Squiggy were two characters on Laverne and Shirley that were very funny. Every time they opened the door, hello! And they were weird and funny and wacky. But we wanted
they were
our
the
men.
punchline.
They always. And these guys
They weren't taken seriously. They were like, we're two black men. We're not going to do that.
No. And so we all agreed that they can be funny, but they have to still be men and still have, important things to say and still have interests and not there just to serve the comedy.
No.
And so you see now this friendship, you see this coaching, you see their belief in each other. You know, Kyle believes in him if he's going to coach him.
And this is the pairing of Sinclair and Overton that will last for years. And we get to see it. And it's the one, I want to say one, but it's the one love story that is consistently building and not necessarily, they do have their issues.
Right.
But it's a classic love story that gets to grow.
It
doesn't have anybody, it's passionate.
It's pure in a way. You know, it's unencumbered with a whole lot of other stuff. One of my favorite things I remember hearing during our run, some critic said that if Sinclair and Overton were on a white show, they would have won an Emmy. Because this arc is something that we hadn't seen. We hadn't seen this, sort of, you don't like the word innocent, but I'll say innocent because I can't find enough. Naive, sort of pure, just pure. And I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud that as Black folks, we got to show an element of love.
Relationship.
Yeah, it was really.
It's a shame you'd have to go on another show that wouldn't have a Black cast, perhaps, for that to have stood out as something that was unique inside of the story narrative that was going on in sitcoms. So what's your perspective of the Sinclair and Overton story?
I think it's promising also for for people who feel a little different or feel a little weird. Like I'm not cool. I've never been cool, and Sinclair is not. She's not cool. She's not perfect. She doesn't even quite know who she is, other than she loves life and loves people. And again, I'm going to use the word pure. I don't mean perfect, but just like what you see is what you get. And so I think it gave people hope. And guys like Overton are like, I'm not fancy. I'm not a doctor. I don't know a lot of things. I just know what I know. And he's actually brilliant, an inventor, a philosopher, as we heard. Yeah. That it gives hope to people who are like, I just want to keep it. What you see is what you get.
But did we know that they were an endgame? That they were always going to be together in the show?
I think once the audience buys in, you hear, we had a live audience every week, and you hear the audience going, oh, or yay.
But did the writers know it?
I think they knew.
Wrote it.
I think they know.
And you knew that when you signed up for it?
I knew when I signed up.
So we already knew that.
Yeah.
And so in a way, they didn't have to have blurriness or anything, or it'd be cloudy. It was
I didn't know
very
it happened so soon, though, because you think, like, we got
they have to start somewhere.
They do have to start.
Yeah.
And this is the start.
Did you have a chemistry read for John?
No. We did not have a chemistry read, but I had respect for John Hinton because he was a comic who was beloved, and he had heat on him. So the fact that Yvette was able to get him was great. This was perfect. Yeah. So I knew of him and nothing but respect, because we both came from the world of stand-up.
And does that move you think that Overton did still hold up? Could you still do that nowadays?
The move of
well, maybe there's a couple of moves. Could somebody send a note, maybe get somebody to leave?
Sure.
Probably not.
Oh, sure. Why not?
I don't know, because they would text and see if that were true, number one, and send, so that doesn't hold up. But maybe the move in where he offers himself and goes like that, or is that seen as soft and like he's a sucker? Because you give him a peck and he's okay with that.
Yeah.
Could that hold up now?
I'd like to believe that if you appreciate that, that could hold up. So there's a story in which
I don't know.
You then go back to your apartment. It's like, he didn't tongue me down like I wanted him to. Don't he know? And there's also, look, my beloved EJ made me wait for months before we kissed, before we did anything. And that was new for me. And it was not innocent, but it was a decision to go, let's make sure that we can remain friends no matter what. Let's make sure that we really get to know each other. And it was actually...
Your pants was on fire, weren't they? I think you're starting to smoke right now.
I was like, am I going to get this kiss tonight? And he was like, okay, good night.
My Lord.
Good night. But
you were burning rubber.
I was burning. Like, come on, let's get in there.
I know, that's right.
Yeah.
Hey,
he said, no, this was...
good man.
And I allowed to go on that trip.
Also, that's a king move, by the way.
It's like, oh, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah, you have to, like, wait
Whip
for
it.
Yeah. Because what it does, it creates a bond that is now, we know each other more. And so I think that that's sweet. I think that there are women who would appreciate a man who didn't like, here's my tongue, enjoy.
So
and I'm sure there are men who would appreciate, she gave me a little peck on the cheek. There's something to look forward to.
I think it's also battling expectations. Because a lot of people, that even if they wanted that, they feel then if they don't get more, they failed. Because society is telling them, like, you a sucker if you can't come and seal the deal.
Like,
there's people who
believe night one.
Well, there's people who believe if they take you out to Red Lobster or some sort of, that
you
they deserve.
You
got to put out. Now, even come on now.
No, come on.
It got to be more than the Red Lobster.
Take me bowling and Red Lobster, and then we can talk.
And then you could talk. So the importance of Sinclair's innocence in a show about modern dating is
a beautiful juxtaposition for all of y'all.
It's true. Because we had hot pants.
Hot pants.
Hot thing. Bill at 21, right?
This is The Reverb, our time to reflect on the episode's themes and how they still echo throughout the culture. Welcome back. So before we dive into how living single shaped modern dating, can we just take a little stroll through memory lane, if I can remember that far back? Let's talk about dating in the 90s, right? Okay. What do you remember? There's beepers, there's mixtapes,
yes,
paging someone. Like it was a love letter.
Yeah.
I never had a pager. I
never had a pager, and we were just getting phones then, and it was actually very expensive to call people on the phone. You still had long distance charges.
Wow.
So there was a lot of difference. You had to go out and meet people, number one.
Right. There was
clubs were real.
None of that swiping and...
No, you had to go meet people. You actually started dating in high school and, getting people's number and saying, I'm going with that person. Remember that?
Oh.
Do people still go with, I'm going with him?
you get asked? Would you go with me?
Nobody ever asked me, but I went to an all-girls high school.
Okay.
And I would have been horrified if somebody asked me.
Really?
I didn't want to ever be a property of any dude. Sorry, this is not in me.
Really?
So even my first boyfriend, he understood that. And we dated, but I never said I was going with him. That sounds corny.
That's so funny. Like the thing, and I grew up in New York, so for God to say, would you go with me? You go like, yes, thank you.
And then what do they do? Give you a little ring or
or nothing? It was understood. Either you got
football
some sort
jersey
of item or of some kind, or it was just understood that you were the not property, but you belonged
Actually, Richard did give me his football jersey.
See, look. It was probably more organic and more, sweet and innocent.
Sweet. He understood.
Yeah.
Everybody, you have to read the thing because you can scare people who maybe have my point of view. My point of view wasn't just about autonomy and sort of the space to choose, but it was also I didn't want to be claimed.
You didn't want to be claimed?
No, I'm not married now, but when I got married, I wasn't going to be Erica Alexander, blah, blah, blah. I was going to be Erica Alexander. I already have a man's name, my father's.
Right.
I didn't need another person's.
Right. Here's what's funny about you, though. For somebody who didn't want to be claimed, like you have long-term relationships. Like you and Richard were together for 8 years.
I'm very mono.
You and Tony were together for years. And so for somebody who didn't want to be claimed, so I guess it's not about the time spent or saying that you're with someone, but you didn't want to be claimed, and yet you were locked down.
And that's one of the big
not.
differences too.
Okay.
So if you think about it, in the 90s, I think people looked for people who would be more long-term.
Mm-hmm.
Stability was important. Because again, society thought if you dated too much, you were a whore. I'm going to say a bad word here, like, Stallone in Rocky. I'm going to say a bad word here. You a whore. And nobody wants to be a whore. You want to be somebody who looks like, marriage material. And even though I wasn't even into marriage, but marriage material meant that somebody you could be committed to. Right. So commitment was important. Right now, the difference is there's no commitment. You literally put your picture up with your stats. Is somebody going to look and swipe past you?
Yeah.
I couldn't even
imagine. I'm so glad. Did you ever do any? Well, you didn't do any online dating. No,
I couldn't do it now. No. Well, there's Max.
But there are people. We have friends.
Is that Cousin Pam?
We have friends in our world who have done that, and I go like, but they know who absolutely.
But were they famous?
Yeah.
We should go on Pop for Love because nowadays they go on dating games where you put the red balloon out, and literally when you come out, they start popping balloons. Now, frankly, that's what hurt my feelings. Well, if I was in my 50s, I wouldn't want to pop the balloon. I might let the air out slowly. Because I don't want them to be traumatized. Like, can I just slowly let the air? That to me is one of the most traumatic things.
And they interview them like, hey, so why did you have your balloon on pop? I wanted to see what she was talking about. She's attractive. No, but let me say this. There's a difference between a dating app or going on a reality show. Because a lot of times those people on those shows, they're doing it, and my Instagram is Amber22999. Like, they're going because it's, publicity and
ain't that much publicity in the world. So you pop them balloons on me before I get out. I start crying.
Who've gone on 2 or 3 of those episodes. Wait, it's so popular that Netflix gave them a deal.
And they should have.
It's actually too slick for me. I actually like it a little rough.
It's rough.
Yeah,
and I love when people go, the dudes are like, they'll say something and they say, bless up,
Yeah, right.
Just insulted you and said, but it's all good, bless up.
So what's your name? My name is Joey, and I have a business. I'm a business owner, and I believe in God.
I'm an entrepreneur.
What do you want in a woman? She got to believe in God.
Yeah.
And not smoke too much reefer.
And I like when she shows her, her body off.
Right.
I want to make sure the goods are there. You worked out.
Couldn't. So this could not have happened in the 90s, but in the 90s we were exploring.
Girl,
you had to meet someone. You had to go on.
If your mother saw you on a show like that, you'd be dragged out of there. Can you imagine our parents on a show like that?
Are people really going on that show to really find love? I think there's some.
I do.
You think
because
there's some?
There is a problem nowadays, let's be honest, when the dating. They've been talking about it, especially from the male point of view, that males feel very unaligned. Not just dating, but with who they are in the world and their purpose. Because things have changed massively for men. And women have changed massively because they do have choice. They're not necessarily needing a man to pay the rent or feel proud of themselves. They're in the market. They're very well educated. Sometimes they're like, they want to date several different people. But then that's what people are saying. There's too many masculine women. What does that mean? Well, would Max be seen as a masculine woman? Yes.
Yes, she would.
But I found her to be very delicate and vulnerable.
Well, because you knew how to play that and add that. But do you think that there are men who would be intimidated by Max?
there were men that's why they wanted to put her across the street before they even met her, was even cast. They were wanting Yvette to place her across the street.
The thing is that we don't know until we get to know her that there is a softness, there is a femininity she's all feminine. She's just,
I think femininity is being redefined as we speak on Living Single, because we have different versions of it.
Yeah.
We have Regine, wanting that traditional thing. Marry me, take care of me, and then maybe we'll talk about beans in the oven. But first, it's me. And then we have you who wants that, but you're not putting it out there for sale.
No, but just sort of sweet and innocent and ready.
And then we have Khadijah, who's very career focused, like Latifah was,
Right. But still wanting to date. She got to date basketball players and football players on the show and all of this, and still very much wanting to add that into her life. And you, who were like, you weren't a man eater. You just were very clear that you could have your sex and eat it too. No, that came out wrong.
God, Lord have
came
mercy.
out wrong. That came out wrong.
No, it's have your sex and eat me too.
No,
if you were talking
That's
to
what I meant
Max,
to say.
I know
All
you know what
right,
I'm saying.
see.
Hey, funny thing, I'm very much Erica like Sinclair was, because I'm from Arizona. So that's my version of Minnesota. We have our dating pool there too.
Right.
It's not necessarily trash, but it ain't the best.
It's the dating pool is very shallow.
Yeah.
Right.
And you have that kind of old-fashioned way in approaching things, and you don't want to put it out there, Not that you don't have longing, but you're not out there swiping right. And luckily they weren't swiping
so
right.
Glad.
I gotta say, but in a way, I probably didn't use my puss as much as I should have. I wish I had. Now looking back, I could have totally put it more out on the shelf.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
Because you use your puss too much, it stays up on the shelf because it needs to rest too much.
Well, I'm not saying I didn't want to overuse it, but I did want to use it more than I did.
You did want to use it more than you did?
Looking back, yeah.
Listen, you got many years ahead of you. Use it now.
Well, now, it's different now. You know what I'm saying? Then I was footloose and vagina free, It was tough because there was all these things going on in your head. It wasn't just the fact that I was old-fashioned. There were all these, competing thoughts.
You said, you didn't want to get pregnant and you don't want to be considered too fast, especially in those environments that are, smaller and more traditional. There's rules about when and why and who with who and all that.
Yeah, nowadays they have all sorts of things that we didn't.
And roles are getting even softer, right? So you have young people now who are like, who don't assign the same meaningfulness to sex that we did. In our generation, not only did sex mean that you were going to get pregnant, sex meant that you could die.
Yeah.
Because STDs, it wasn't like you just get a shot of penicillin and
AIDS
you'd be
was
fine,
very much prominent.
right? So you're just coming off of that. It still is prevalent, especially in our communities. But
it's not a death sentence as it was
anymore,
untreated.
But then it could very well be. And
also we have things that bisexual and all that,
that's
trans,
what I'm saying, freedom.
Everything. There's tons of freedom. Then we could barely say gay and or queer. Queer was actually not said
that
unless
word was
you
not
were
used, no.
not you. But now people are like, well, I'm bisexual, I'm fluid,
right,
all these things.
Right. So the rules have softened.
Yeah.
And so when you meet someone, you have to go.
So that's a wonderful thing.
What are your pronouns, and what do you like, and what don't you like, and what are the rules here?
Regine's pronouns have stayed the same. Me, myself, and I. That's what it is.
There you go.
By the way, they happen to be mine too.
Me, myself, and I. And now it's time for True Blue, where we get to hear from you. By the way, we'd love to get your questions, and we'll sit here and we will answer them with love. All you have to do is go to Reliving Single Podcast at heartbeat.com. Write us. Tell us what you want to know. We'll tell you almost everything.
Now, that's a situationship we can get with.
Mm-hmm. So who do we have? What do we have?
All right. So this question is from Janae J from DC. And she says, hi, Erica and Kim, loving the podcast. I rewatch Living Single all the time, but getting to relive it with you both has been a dream. Quick question about dating. So which Black male celeb from the 90s do you wish your character had gotten to date on the show?
Ooh. You know what? Might sound corny, but I love me some Billy D. Williams. I ain't gonna lie. It makes sense that we should pick somebody from, say, New Edition and all this stuff. And they seemed like peers at the time. I don't know about you. And they were all in a state of becoming Wu-Tang Clan, all of them. And I didn't see them necessarily, but maybe because you also, when you're young, you also think older. I wanted, Jermaine Jackson was who I dreamed
Oh,
of.
I had a crush on Jermaine too.
Oh.
Quiet as it's kept Tito. I know people laugh about Tito.
Wow.
I love Tito. I think Tito is
that's
unsung.
coming strong.
Unsung.
Well, I was Marlon Jackson.
Okay, you were okay.
Yeah,
okay.
but I
Jermaine or
loved Billy
Tito?
D because he was with Diana Ross, and he says, "What do you want, my arm to fall off?" And I really did love Billy D, and I loved people like Sidney Poitier and those types.
Yeah.
So I think in a way I always wanted a mature man, and I thought some of this people that may have been maybe my age peers were kind of too young.
Right. Okay.
To be interesting. I was still looking at Dukes of Hazzard and digging on, you know what I mean?
Right.
The Dukes of Hazzard and all these, and by the way, not enough's being said about all the white men that were sort of in front of us that, that were sexy and we sort of projected ourselves into those relationships.
Sure.
By the way, I loved Pierce Brosnan on Remington Steel Child.
Let me tell
my
you,
God.
Have you been watching any of Pierce Brosnan's latest work? He has aged like a fine wine.
And he's an Irishman.
Come on.
And he's coming with his leprechaun self real hard with a gangster.
Listen,
Yes.
and James Bond. And here's, why I like Pierce Brosnan? Because his woman is thick and he likes her thick.
Boom. You see her?
You ever see how he holds on to her on
Come on. Right here.
And people have said, "Oh, your wife he's not." I like it. I don't know what accent. But I like my lassie. So I always liked that he liked a woman with some curves.
Yeah, me too.
Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah, and same with a dude who plays Wolverine.
Come on, yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you look at Keanu Reeves, who dates an older woman. See, I always liked people who dated interesting people.
Yeah, okay.
I think that you can kind of see what people are like by seeing who they date.
Okay,
And
nice.
frankly, yes, they were all out there. My God. I mean, yeah, I liked all of that.
I'm trying to think who else I would I don't know. None of the pop stars, because I wouldn't want to compete with the groupies.
But yeah, you didn't say who you dated.
I didn't say because I don't have
But you said you'd go out with anybody. Now you're being
that's
picky.
Not what I said. I said if I go on a first date, they're going to be my boyfriend. Because that justifies what's going to happen by date 3.
So you didn't like any rapper?
LL Cool J would be my speed.
Yeah.
He's a Capricorn. He licks his lips.
Yeah.
But I don't want to disrespect his wife. But
he gonna need some chapstick, as you say, right?
Say LL Cool J. Yeah, would be about my speed.
Yeah,
or,
that might have been it.
Flavor Flav. No.
No, Lord.
Let me tell you something.
Flavor
Flav is charming.
Yeah.
I see Flavor Flav gets it because he's
fabulous.
Charming. There's a
Smart.
light. And hey Kimmy Kim, he's darling, a darling.
Who's
human being.
his compadre? Flavor Flav, who Public Enemy?
Chuck D.
Chuck D.
Come on now.
Oh my
Come
God!
on
Now
now.
I get heated from that. I think
You got good taste. Got good
Chuck
taste.
D. Come on, I'ma love it. Let's get down to business.
Come on, sexy.
What?
Sexy.
That he was fine as hell
yeah.
too. To this
And
day,
smart.
You know who was good? Big Daddy Kane.
Chocolatey delicious.
Oh my God! No, we just needed to be triggered.
We need to be triggered.
My God, Big Daddy Kane. You know, I met him at the Tamron Hall show. Was all I could do to look at him. Oh yes, I think I looked cross-eyed because I didn't want to see him.
You told me about someone. I won't say. I'll say when the shows when we're not rolling. Somebody who said to, "I'm really feeling you, girl. I'm feeling
that's
you."
Maxwell. I'll tell him.
You said
that was Maxwell.
So Erica, I'll tell you this.
It's
Erica
the
went to
truth.
the concert.
Oh
and you
my
went
God.
backstage.
It was
you
a
meet people.
fashion show.
Oh, it was a fashion show, and he said, "Hey, girl."
And we was across the runway, and we just locked eyes, and it was one of those moments that was instant.
He said,
I mean, it was just instant. It was fever. You give me fever.
And he said backstage, "I'm feeling you."
Yeah, he
girl.
said.
I'm
Sure
feeling
said,
you.
"Don't feel me.
Don't feel me.
Don't
Please
feel
don't
me."
feel
I told him, "Don't feel me.
Don't feel me."
I couldn't. Because it was. I'm telling you,
It was too much.
It was like no one else was in the room. And honestly, I'm sure my panties fell off, and I was nearly impregnated without him touching me. That's how fierce it was.
You said, "Please don't feel me. Don't feel me.
Maxwell.
Don't feel me. Please don't feel me."
I don't even let myself go there.
The 90s.
The 90s.
Thank you, Janae, for asking me a question and getting us to
DC.
reminisce. And,
You got us all hot and bothered.
Are you loving doing the show and rewatching and enjoying this? Yeah.
Yeah, loving sitting here with you. More than I thought I would, frankly. It was, maybe it's some kind of healing and like a tonic. Yeah, we're laughing and talking, but we're also crying and having a conversation. And, what lovely shout out to Thomas Michael Ford.
Life, it's moments like this, you're reminded that life is so short.
Brief.
And you must share your light. You know, Tommy shared his light beautifully. Kind, loving man.
Gracious.
I'm told he was a great father and a great dad and
Showed
a
up,
great
always
hubby.
know his lines on time. That
Yeah.
says something about his professional ethic, work ethic.
Yeah.
There's so many wonderful people that are gone now.
Right. And
But
so-
he went very early, and it was
Very
shocking
early.
to all of us.
So much so. And so
Yeah.
it says to all of us to
Live
live now and live your light and be the best version of you always so that you can be remembered and loved on just like this.
Come back. Listen to us, you know.
Listen to us.
Yes, listen to us.
Listen to us.
Yeah, you know,
Every
this
week.
is every week, wherever you listen to your podcast.
Yeah.
And if you want to see us and see, you know, the visual
Come on.
are hot. We are dressing up and trying to make it all look pretty for you. And everyone here is working hard, and we love you. So
Thank you all.
send your comments and questions to Reliving Single Podcast at heartbeat.com.
Reliving Single is hosted by Erica Alexander and me, Kim Coles. Reliving Single is a production of Heartbeat in association with Color Farm Media. Executive produced by Kevin Hart, Jeff Clanigan, Eric Eddings, Leslie Guam, Erica Alexander, and Ben Arnon. This show is produced by Kim Coles. Amber Watson is our senior producer. Our associate producer is Kenny Jackson. Our video editor is Shannon Joy Rogers. Our sound engineers are Eric Hicks and Cedric Wilson. Production supervision by Razak Boykin. Additional production support from Alex Atkins and Z Taylor. And a special thanks to Dr. E.J. Johnson.